It is time for This Week in Location-Based Marketing, episode number 71. We're recording this live between Asif Khan and myself, and this is Saturday, March 31st. I think that what we thought was that we were just not going to be able to risk this on April Fool's Day. Is that what we were doing here, Asif?
Something like that, yeah. We'll go with that.
We have to go with that. That's the only excuse we can have. Asif is in San Francisco. I am in Ottawa, Canada. My name is Rob Woodbridge from Untether.tv. You might as well introduce yourself now that I've said your name 17 times already, Asif.
Asif Khan from the Location-Based Marketing Association.
Oh, this is that place you come to very often to find the latest information about the location-based marketing world, what happened last week, the most relevant stories that we think you guys should know about, the trends that are happening. This is where you're going to find that stuff. This is where you're going to find that stuff. And we've got on the floor, on the ground reporting from Asif in San Francisco. We've got a number of things. But before we even begin this show, I've got to remind you, and I never do, Asif and I are always fail to do this, which is to remind you that you guys can subscribe to this very video podcast, this very show through iTunes. The link is here, wherever you are. It's above me or below me, whatever it is. There's a little thing that says subscribe to the video or the audio feed. Do it. These video podcasts get put up probably 12 or 14 hours before they get posted up on the website. They get put up on iTunes so that you can download them in their perfect, pristine form. But this way, you'll never forget to download an episode. You'll always have access to it, every episode that comes out, and then the back catalog, which is important. So please subscribe at iTunes. And if you love the show, please give us like 5 stars. I'd say give us 10, but they only accept 5. Give us 5 stars and a good comment. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And any feedback, whether it's in the iTunes, in the App Store, or on Twitter or whatever, we'd love the feedback. So keep it coming.
Yeah, and remember, only good feedback on iTunes. You can send us email if you don't like the show. Actually, remember, send Asif the email if you don't like the show.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Asif, before we get into the show, let's talk about your last week. You're in San Francisco. You've been there for the better part of this past week. You'll be there for next week. What was last week? CETW.
Yeah, Customer Engagement Technology World, a 2-day show that is the official trade show for the Digital Screen Media Association. So it's the digital out-of-home community, place-based media community, and increasingly that is, digital screens and mobile and location are coming together. And so that's why I was there, and lots of really, really great content. The opening keynote to kick things off on Wednesday morning was Brian Solis from the Altimeter Group, and he gave a great presentation in his new book, which is right here, The End of Business as Usual. So I started reading it. It looks like it's a good read, so highly recommend you check that one out. But yeah, just great content and some interesting exhibitors. Saw a couple of new mobile location things that I certainly want to play around with and get on the show, and we'll see where it goes. But a good event. And then coming up now, starting Monday here in San Francisco, is the O'Reilly Ware Conference, which is one of the largest location specific conferences. So I'm quickly involved with that on Monday, and then hopping on a plane over to Chicago for Retail Ramp, which is mobile and location and commerce. So lots going on. There's ad tech as well this week in San Francisco. I won't be doing that one. Just too much going on, but yeah, plenty to do on the conference circuit if you're if you want to get out there and network and check stuff out.
Well, I mean, it sounds great, and I think that Brian Solis is certainly a good read, and it's just so funny that you held up a book. I haven't seen one of those in a long time.
There you go.
And inside that book is actually printed words. It's not like it's not an iPad with any kind of ebooks in there, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. So,
and I like when you look at the back and it's got the the testimonials. It's quite the who's who. It's Mark Cuban, John Chambers, Peter Guber, and Mark Burnett. Quite diversity there. Very, very interesting.
Mark Burnett. Anyhow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, what say we jump into this show? All right.
Let's do it.
This week it's a jam-packed show. We've got obviously our top 5 stories of this past week in location-based marketing world. We got some partnerships. We've got obviously some funding and some acquisitions, as is typical. We're going to talk about this really cool thing. We're going to leave it for the last story in our top 5, which is about LivingSocial dropping their instant program. I think this is very cool. Our product of the week is Xtify, and we've got Josh Rochlin here as the CEO. Little clip that we talked about. He's actually going to do a live demo if everything works well. We'll see. Let me know. We'll see at the end of that. And obviously we got a resource of the week, which is, here, I'm going to butcher this. It's colloquy.
So let's go with colloquy. I don't know.
I'm going to think of colloquy. That's how it's going to go from now on. All right. So why don't we jump right? The first story of the week that we're going to talk about is this really neat service, and I think that we're obviously going to see this happen very, very often by Alarm.com. Is that they've added location-based services to their offering. I like this. Pretty cool. Why don't you explain it?
Yeah, this one's really interesting. So, I mean, a typical sort of security home alarm monitoring company. But what they've done is they've embedded location-based capabilities into the mobile part of their offering, such that you can build geofences around your home, for example, and set certain triggers and notifications based on entry and exit in and out of those geofences. So, for example, let's say it's a sort of a typical family, mom, dad, a couple kids, and the parents leave the house. They've exited, past the geofence, but they forgot to set the alarm on the house. They'll get a notification if they've set up a trigger for that basically says, oh, you forgot to set the alarm, and it will remotely set it for them. And so, but it's all triggered based on geofences that you set around properties that you want to do things with. And it could be, not just the alarm, like it could be, turning down the thermostat or, all sorts of other things. But really interesting. I think this is, a great use of location capability, and, very, very simple, and yet, powerful in terms of what it can do for you.
I'm with you on that. It's just a natural extension for these guys to be able to do it. One of the interesting things in the press release that they talked about was the ability to extend these geofences around locations other than your home. So, for example, your kid's school. Mm-hmm. So when something triggers on the cell phone that your kid has left the school, you get notified. And I think that this world is going to merge, which is the home security system at Alarm.com. Something like that, as well as the personal security system, which is basically geofence the places you should be. Send me notifications when I breach those geofences and I leave. And then if I don't arrive at a certain time, I should be notified. So these things are going to get much, much, much smarter. Very cool. I like this. Simple but cool.
Exactly. And all the best services out there are simple but cool, aren't they? It's the ones that have like ridiculous names that we can't pronounce, and don't really have anything to do with the business, or they got 7,000 features, and only 2 really matter. But this is just simple and cool. So yeah.
Well, and you're seeing that everywhere. And I remember writing a story about 2 things around Nike shoes that actually had an engine in the shoe that absorbed foot contact, heel contact when you're running. And it had a little computer on that. I thought, oh man, this is going to get complicated when you have to reboot my running shoes. I am not really interested in doing that. The blue screen of death on my running shoes, I don't think that's what I need. I already suffer enough while I'm running. All right, so that's alarm.com. Go and check it out, alarm.com. And we're going to see a whole bunch of companies. If they're not already in this, we're going to see a whole bunch of companies getting into this right away. Second story. This is a company called UBL. They partner with their chief competitor, at least at one point, Yext. So let's talk about what are UBL and Yext. Talk about names. It's a tough name.
What I like about this is the whole sort of business listing directory search business has to evolve, and these are 2 of the companies that in North America are at sort of the forefront of it. And it's an issue that, I've certainly been monitoring and part of the discussion for, a couple of years now, in that small businesses, that have to get their business listed in directories so they can be found. We've talked about it on the show before quite a while ago, but, this idea that there's so many emerging platforms, Google Places, Facebook Places, Foursquare, Yelp, so you got a small business, you got to maintain your listing everywhere. And so the idea behind sort of a partnership like this is that, you basically list it with one place like UBL, and it gets distributed and pushed out, over, multiple platforms, in the partnership with Yext. And so that's really what this is. This is about, you're paying, for a premium listing service is how it's being positioned. But you're getting that added value of management and distribution of your business information to all the other providers. And so I know they're one of the things that they're talking about here is starting with, Google Places, but I think there's a lot of power in this from a consumer's perspective and a lot of time saved from small business owners' perspective.
So, yeah, and obviously, when two chief competitive forces join in something like that, consolidation in the system, consolidation in this industry, this is where you realize that maybe unified they can bring their clients some better advantages than just duking it out. And it's kind of the sign of a mature company to be able to do this. Or is this industry really still in that consolidation phase, do you think?
Right.
I think it's a very I love when competitors become cooperators. That's what's happening here. Anything else on the UBL Yext partnership?
No, I just I think that my only comment on it will be that if you're a business owner, small medium business, and you go through that process of the traditional process of getting your business listed in the yellow pages and that kind of thing, you need to be thinking bigger in today's world, in a mobile location based world of how do I manage my profile information across multiple platforms, and so that's really what this is all about.
All right, UBL partners with Yext. I threw up a bunch of screen grabs. You can get to UBL and Yext on their website, but go and check them out. Third story. This is it's not so unique, but this is a company called Grabio that gets into the location-based classifieds. And I've sat down with many an entrepreneur who is getting into this space. But what's so special about Grabio? Is there anything that really stuck out with you?
I don't think that there's anything like that's completely revolutionary here. As you alluded to, I think there's a lot of players in this is an extremely crowded market. We're talking about Craigslist here in a mobile framework. Really, is what Grabio is. There's a couple of interesting things that they're trying to do. So one is that when you see a posting in there. From a mobile location perspective, you can tell exactly where that posting is from. You don't have to go do a Google map lookup or anything like that. That information is automatically pulled from the poster's perspective, via location data. The other thing that I like about it is that it's got ratings and profile information like you would have on eBay. In terms of how trusted is this buyer, seller, what have you. So I think that's important. Sort of almost an absolute necessity in today's age in a service like this. And then the one last thing that from what I saw on it is that it's got a pretty nice built-in sort of social sharing amplification piece. So when you put a posting up, I'm selling. A bike or whatever it is, you can automatically push that out, across Facebook and Twitter from within Grabio.
And this is it's not revolutionary, but I like this because I think that these companies who are going to own this area, who are going to succeed in this area, it's all around analytics. It's all around the data that they're collecting and what they do with that data and how they infer with that data. And somewhere in this article that I read, what they talked about was that they can understand based on based on the search terms that they're using, on their proclivity to actually buying. And I think that this is something that extends something a little bit beyond what a lot of the other competitors are doing. So I think that. If I can just find it here, maybe I can't find it quickly enough, but what they're talking about is quite literally saying that, this combination of these two words means that they're going to actually buy a product. And I think that's the kind of information that use of information is going to be a benefit to a company like these guys. My feeling, though, is with a company like Grabio, here's an interesting thing. A company like Grabio coming into this market, classifieds, location-based classifieds, not unique, and these guys have a little bit of traction and a great product. This is a prime piece of software that somebody should be acquiring right away. And I look at, in Canada, a company like Post Media, a national chain of newspapers that are trying to figure out how to fight off all the other digital classifieds that have come up into Canada, that have been created in Canada. This is a unique play for those guys. So I would look at something like this and say this is a perfect marriage with the old guard that just can't seem to transition into the digital classified space. So I mean, I like Grabio. I like it a lot.
Yeah. No, like I said, there's a lot of players in the space, but they seem to have assembled all the right components that you need to be successful in it. Like I can't look at it and say, oh, you're missing this capability, or why didn't you do that? But it's crowded, so can they rise above the rest of them? We'll see.
Yeah, everybody's asking that question right now. It's a big world. Right? And it's a big, you can get highly local with these things. But, Post Media, if you're listening to this, anybody from Post Media, go and take a look at these guys. Anybody from a national chain in the U.S. as well. Grabio.com, Grabio.com. Fourth story, which is a perfect example of what we talk about here, which is location-based marketing. Relevant location-based marketing. What do you think of this RadioShack ad campaign that targets users of older smartphones to be able to go and buy and upgrade their smartphones within a geofence or a radius of RadioShack stores?
I absolutely love it. I think this is what every retailer and brand should be thinking about. And it's what I like about it is that it's at the end of the day, they're trying to drive sales of cell phones from RadioShack's perspective. But what I like about it is that they're not going and saying, reaching out to people and saying, here's a coupon, or here, save 20% today on this. What they're doing is they're using geofencing. They're using, the Verve wireless sort of ad network play. And they're basically, identifying users of older smartphones based on operating systems and other information that they can ping and collect from the device. To target certain devices and reach out to those people and run a standard banner ad almost that says, hey, have you thought about going to RadioShack lately? And here's the closest one to you, and to upgrade that phone. And I think it makes sense. I think this is the kind of thing that from a marketing perspective at a retail level that people should be doing. People, lots of brands should be doing this. So full applause to RadioShack on this effort.
Absolutely. People who carry around the old Blackberries, not the newest, latest Blackberries, but the old blue Blackberries or the big clamshell Blackberries, or those, they get ridiculed just because whenever they pull them out. Like, if you've still seen anybody, pull up with an antenna on a Blackberry, they deserve to be ridiculed. Whether it just says so much. So I love the fact that they're targeting folks that are using these devices. And I love the fact that they're implementing this kind of technology to be able to do that. And the Verve network is very targeted. It's massive. It's already embedded in a bunch of games. I mean, a theme throughout this entire show is that there's a lot of geo-targeted ad networks out there. And this is another one. And but RadioShack has they're not releasing any numbers, but they have that, at least they're having the vision to say, what micro niche or a niche market can we target with location-based marketing that we can understand and watch an impact. And certainly this is it. If you're getting ads fed to you on an old device, the Verve network can detect, for the most part, the operating system and the device type. It's going to push you an ad that says, it's probably a little bit less insulting than what a human would say. A human would say, hey, loser, upgrade your phone. This will say, hey, don't you think it's time? Don't you want these extra features in your phone? And I think it's great.
Exactly. And here's an ad, promoting, 3 of the latest smartphones or whatever. And it doesn't have to be a deal. That's what I'm saying. Like, right. It's not everything is, save 50% on this today. So anyways, I love it. So great work.
Yay for RadioShack. As they've been struggling. I mean, they've moved away from the component world and into the smartphone world very, very clearly.
Yeah.
So hopefully this is a good example. Now, the great thing about this, everybody out there, you can do it, and you can do it relatively quickly.
Yeah.
This is not a copyright idea. This is not something that involves a heavy amount of infrastructure. This just involves a little bit of thought. So good on RadioShack.
Yeah. And RadioShack gets it. This is not the first.
No.
You know, they've been working a lot with Foursquare. They've been working with a lot of other location-based marketing tools. So you know, these guys are certainly trying to push the envelope and use the services you know, as they're intended to be used. Right.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think that's one of the key things. All right, just a little bit of ingenuity, a little bit of thinking. RadioShack, way to go. All right, so last story that we're going to talk about right now is about LivingSocial. LivingSocial launched, how long ago did they launch Instant?
I think it was like in the spring last year, so almost a year.
Yeah, so that's so just about a year. This was in direct answer to Groupon Instant, right?
To Groupon now.
So, yeah, of course. So, LivingSocial Instant was a direct response to Groupon Now, and which was basically real-time deals. So you're in a location, you stamp your location, you say, what's around me, what deals are around me right now. Not the traditional group buying method, but these deals are around me right now. So they announced LivingSocial that they're going to drop Instant. Why?
Well, I mean, I think the obvious reasons is, you know, no one's using it. And,
that's the obvious reason. I love it.
I think the obvious reason is no one using it. And I'm going to go out and say, I don't think there's that many people using Groupon now either. But it's, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, you go out in the case of both companies, Groupon and LivingSocial, and did a fantastic job of establishing that daily deal marketplace. You know, pushing those deals, you know, over email, based on what city you were in, and people were buying them up, and these companies have collected lots of shekels in revenue. They're not profitable. They're losing money hand over fist, but you know, from a revenue perspective, they're bringing it in, and it's interesting because, you know, in both cases with Groupon Now and Instant, they tried to sort of play the mobile location game on top of the sort of traditional email daily deal, and you know, in response to, you know, Foursquare and Facebook Places and all the other stuff, and they, you know, I think both companies felt they could play there, and I think the challenge here is that, you know, the types of businesses that were doing the traditional daily deal, the, you know, hair salons and massages and you know, whatever it is that they were doing, or, you know, you save 50% on, you know, getting your portrait done. You know, those kinds of things. I don't think that you know, time-sensitive offers necessarily, you know, fit with the kinds of merchants that they were working with generally here, and so they've said, look, in the case of LivingSocial, you know, we're dropping out of this sort of instant location-based offering piece. I don't think they had much traction. They're switching over to a takeout and delivery business, which I think will be really interesting because that's a whole nother crowded space as well. You know, obviously you have Yelp and others that are, I think, trying to go there. And all the other sort of restaurant and menu sites, which there's hundreds. So we'll see. But it's interesting. I always find the PR speak really interesting in the press releases. You know, we've always said that Instant was a test. Yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Right.
Just a test. Everything's a test. Everything, as Google says, is in beta until it's no longer in beta.
Same with Kevin Rose, you know, like, you know, we always said that Milk was just going to be, you know, a pilot project to see how it was going to work out. Yeah, well, it didn't work out, so let's move on.
Yeah, you know, it's a very important piece, is that if everything's a test, how can you get people to commit to being a part of that test? How do you get paying customers when you say, listen, you know, we told you it was a test? How many times are they going to keep coming back to you when you keep going through this iterative process? When you've got committed people using your product, you can't call it a test. You can't roll it out unless you do call it that. You just say, listen, we're rolling it out in limited release because we want to test it. We're going to test it for a year, and then we're going to make a decision on that. Be upfront. Don't pull the carpet out from underneath these guys. Like, you know what? Maybe I don't think that Instant was a good idea. I don't think that Groupon solution is a good one either. Simply put, I'm not often standing in the middle of a street corner thinking, looking for deals on a lube job or a tire rotation, or, you know, it's context. There's no context in something like this, and so.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, the other thing too is the guy who basically was heading this thing up, Eddie Frederick. It looks like they canned him, along with the dropping of the product. So who knows, you know, where that's going to end up. And the new guy who's running the takeout and delivery service, you know, I think he said it right. He said it, you know, right in the release I read. I'm quoting him now. Consumers aren't pulling their phones out to search for the nearest real-time discount on a car inspection or framing service.
Or massage. I'm not standing in the street corner.
Asnick, general manager of LivingSocial Takeout and Delivery. They are, however, looking for a faster and better way to order food from their favorite local restaurants. Yeah, well, it's another test, I think, and I don't think it's going to be all that successful. So
grasping at straws, I think, right there. You know, I'm not as you know, maybe.
Well, when you've raised $800 million in funding recently, you gotta do something.
Okay, so what I like about this, what I like about LivingSocial is that, and I think that it should be a warning for Groupon, is that you know, you often see companies, lead companies, you know, pushing out a service, and then all the other companies that are trying to chase that lead company follow suit with their own service or equivalent service. And what I like about LivingSocial is that they said, look, you know, this is our big play. We have to get out of this. We can't just follow in the coattails of Groupon this whole time. We have to get out of this. So we're gonna move into a different direction where Groupon is not focusing right now. Or Groupon, we know the results of our product, Instant. They're having the same issue. Maybe it's a bigger scale, but they're still losing money. Let's make this play, or else this could be, you know, our business. And I like that. I like the fact that they've done that. They've killed a product.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's no point, you know, flogging a dead horse, right? I mean, it's, you know, move on. But just to quantify that, you know, I mean, I looked up the numbers here. So last year, LivingSocial ended the year with a $558 million net loss.
Crazy amount of money.
With only $245 million in revenue.
What?
So, you know, that's a big deficit to crawl out of, and yet they've still been able to raise $800 million. So. In the last few months, so
we're gonna wake up. We keep saying this, Steve.
There's some faith there.
Well, they're gonna wake up one day, and those investors and every one of us is gonna look at it, and the fact that Groupon is public, we're gonna look at it and say, "Wait a second, it's a coupon company." God, we got rooked. Anyways, LivingSocial drops Instant.
Anyways.
I would say that Groupon should look at this, and we'll see what happens with Groupon. But a word to the wise, it's probably not working. I do not need a car tune inspection while I'm standing on a street corner, and I probably don't need a massage at that time, and I'm probably not interested in the restaurant that you're at pushing deals out. So, big riddle here. Somebody's going to solve it. Maybe it's you guys out there. Who knows?
All right.
5 stories that we think you guys should know about. Big trends in there. Big trends in there. Geofencing, partnerships with competitors. We've got location-based classifieds, location-based disappointments in LivingSocial Instant, and we got RadioShack with geotargeting ads. Come on, that covers the gamut of what we talk about here every day. It's the perfect 5 stories to round out the week. Love it. Great job, Asif.
Thanks.
That was it. So let's jump into this. We've got Josh Rochlin, who is the CEO of a company called Xtify. I'm going to let Josh explain what it is that he does in this interview, and you know, provided that it works, we're also going to do a great demo of what it is. He's going to walk us through some screens. This might be a little bit long, just because we want to make sure that you get some value over what Xtify is bringing. So without further ado, here is Josh Rochlin from Xtify. Hey everybody, welcome to the guest segment for This Week in Location-Based Marketing. I'm sitting with Josh Rochlin, who is the CEO of Xtify. I've had Josh as a guest on Untether.tv and really enjoyed the interview. I'm so happy that he's an LBMA member so that we can come in here and find out what these guys are up to and see some change and get a demo. Inshallah, here we are. We're hoping that this is going to be our first live demo on This Week in Location-Based Marketing. Josh, welcome.
Good morning. Great to be here with you.
Why don't you?
Very excited.
Yeah. Why don't you give us an overview of what Xtify is before we get into the demo?
So Xtify is a mobile engagement platform, and very specifically, what that means is you have all of those developers and brands out there putting apps in the various markets. But as you know, one of the things that often happens is that app gets lost on the back page, or you can't have an effective way of reaching your customer when you'd most like to message them. So what we've done is we've built a platform that is a campaign management for push notifications and allows you to speak to your customer, as you'll see in a few moments, very much in context so that you can influence them at an unprecedented level.
So how is what you're doing different, like from the other applications that are out there, or those services that are out there?
So to be clear, we're not an application. We have an SDK that developers put inside their app. And because they're inside the app now, as you'll see, the developer, the brand manager is very often the advertising or marketing firm that large brands have, will then use our campaign management system very much the way they think about an email service provider like an ExactTarget, a Responsys, an Epsilon, Cheetahmail, or they'll use it the way that they've been using SMS to really engage their mobile user to influence an intent. So I think that, as you'll see, what we have is unique, and I think more importantly, extremely effective.
That's great. I got to know the impact that using Xtify. Do you obviously keep stats like that? The impact that people are having on their business, but you've obviously seen some tremendous growth in not only user base but impact over the last year, haven't you?
Oh, tremendous. So just on the location side of our business, we've gone from doing tens of thousands of location updates a day to 33 million a day, over 1 billion location updates every month. That's a tremendous number, 1 billion location updates. The context you can get out of those location updates is tremendous for a brand. At the same time, what we've seen is large consumer-facing brands adopting our solution to engage their customer. So one of the largest U.S. retailers last week did a few million push notifications, driving people into their stores and to their m-commerce site on their iPhone, Android, and tablets. And the conversion rates are in excess of 33%.
Come on.
Some of that can be dismissed because it's unique, but if you think about it, I'm walking down, for whatever reason, I've already identified with your brand enough that I've downloaded your app, and now you send me something to influence me into something. Now, conversion, the 33% conversion number means that I clicked on that, opened it, and went to either a virtual place or a physical place you wanted me to go to. We're not yet at 33% of those people necessarily buying something, but the fact that you're able to influence them, as you'll see in the demo, in context, is what makes this very exciting.
All right, well, then let's, staggering, 1 billion. Like, these numbers are so big that, and we were talking just before we started recording, it's unquantifiable, really, about the growth, right? I don't think there's a growth percentage that you can affix to what's happened in this industry in the last year, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you take a look at something like what happened with the Omigop game, what was it, Draw Me, or whatever it is, Draw a Picture, adding 1 million users in the first 9 days. We're not seeing that kind of growth from retailers, but if you take a look at your mall, just walk through the mall, you'll see that every mall now has that little barcode, hey, download our app, and that's really happening. And then those brands are saying, wait a second, I need a way to engage that user. So they're adopting our platform, and we're seeing just tremendous growth, as I think anybody with tools in this industry are. I don't think we're alone, but I think that our offering is unique. So I will get to that. Let me
let's throw up the demo.
Great. Let me just get to the point here where I can share my screen with you guys. Let me get your picture out of the way here.
Please.
If that works for everybody.
Please.
You able to see my screen?
I've got your screen.
Great. So let me tell you why we're here. We're here because you, the developer, have put Xtify, the SDK, inside your app. Your users never see the name Xtify, but you or your agency now have the opportunity to create notifications. So as you see up here, there's the create message, as we'll do in a moment. You add the rules and you publish. It's also completely cross-platform, iPhone, Android, BlackBerry, and Android XMPP for those devices that are pre-Android's own push-to-device. And shortly we'll be adding Phone 7 as well. So let's assume I wanted to say welcome to, and I know you guys are having a big show in Toronto, so we'll say welcome to Toronto, new show, and we put in all kinds of cool stuff in here. We'll see in a moment what that looks like. All I've done there is create the message. Here is where it gets very interesting. So one of the things that our SDK is able to do is to grab either of the persistent location of the device or the on-demand location of the device. What that now means that the developer can geofence locations. So let's assume for a second we'll take JFK, which is, I realize, not the Toronto airport, but we can get to that in a moment, and we'll put a 4-mile geofence around a airport. We can go something even smaller. We'll take the Costco in Seattle, and around that we can put a geofence of, let's say, 3/4 of a mile. And now we can take a whole group of locations. So let's take the Sephora's in the Northwest, and we'll put a single mile around those. So as you'll see at the bottom here, what we've done is we have geofenced 2 locations and a group of locations. That's the first trigger for what we're doing. You'll notice when we got here, this frequency icon was sitting here. That's because no message leaves our system more than once by default. But you could get more creative. You could say, you know what? Let's never send more than 2 messages a week. We want to be sure that it doesn't become onerous. Let's put 36 hours between messages. And then finally, throughout this whole campaign, maybe we're doing it over a summer, never send more than 5 messages to any one user. The next thing you want to be able to do is influence people on the temporal plane. So you want to drive them into a certain action. So maybe I'm having something I want to run only in the late evenings. So this is only going to fire between 8 o'clock and 11 o'clock. Or I have a slow time. So we'll take this slow time message. I'm the kind of business that doesn't do a lot between 9 and 10:30 in the mornings, and I'll have that happen here. The next thing you want to be able to do is things like A/B testing. So here's an interesting piece. Only send this message to people who've downloaded my app before such and such a date. Select the date. We'll go to last month to make it useful. And there, I now save that. And I think most important and most significant since probably you and I last hook is really the ability to touch your people based on how they've identified themselves. So maybe I have a tag in my app called female people that meet that criteria where you don't have to necessarily send it to everybody. That makes it a much more effective, and I think that's why we're seeing the type of conversion rates we have. I've created the rule. We'll call this welcome to Toronto rule and describe it to my marketing team. We associate it with our Android and iPhone apps. And there it is. It's now available for our users. Now, the only thing I want to show you as far as getting this information into the cloud, because this is about location, let's just take a look how we create a location here. So won't surprise anybody what it is we're doing here. We'll put in this case, the Toronto airport. Okay, we'll find that location. There it is. I guess this is, we'll call it TPI, Toronto Pearson International. Maybe we describe it. And now that becomes, as you see on the left-hand side here, the ability to geofence that location. You can make whole groups of locations as well. You create templates, schedules. Really don't want to make us sit through that this morning, but people can find that if they want on our website. What I do want to show you, though, is what's going on here. And what's going on is that when you download an app that has Xtify in it, what happens is we create an XID. That's really a number that allows you to then figure out how to send that user a message. What it is not, it's not the device ID. It's significantly not the UUID, particularly now with what Apple's done. And one of the reasons we want to do that is because we want to be able to allow you to collect information on that UUID without having to know who that user is. I think what I really just want to show you as the final piece here is what is the message we're going to send down look like. So we're going to deliver a test notification. Again, we'll say, welcome to Toronto. Welcome to Toronto. We will drop this nothing more than just some HTML in here. We'll make this a little bit more advanced. So let's just say we'll put a Best Buy logo in here. We'll say more info. And now we'll send this down to the device. And now if I can find my, remember how I get to my device here. Whoop. We'll find my phone there. There it is. So as you see, up on here, this push notification came in up top. I pull it down. Again, this would be the same thing if it came into the iPhone device as well. And you can see how rich this can be. So anything that I can display as HTML, I can display here. It could have pictures, videos, trailers, click to call, click to map. You can make this social. So you can obviously share this message out on Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is you might want. Like a good email service provider, we also, at least in our templates, allow you to enable or disable notifications. And this more info button, as you recall, I think we put in Best Buy, it'll send you off there. So all of this is to say that there is now an ability for app developers, large brands, to have a engagement with their users that is much more in context. And that's really what I really wanted to show your team this morning. And I hope that your audience will find that of interest. And that's where we're up to. Everything, just one last thing here, everything is completely trackable. So you want to take a look at, applications, notifications sent, did my users click it, views, actions, was it shared? And then obviously all of that is downloadable to a CSV or something of that sort. So that's where Xtify is up to today. I think that location is only going to become more and more an important criteria here.
You know what I find that it's amazing is the fact that what we talked about when we last got together. This is such in advance of where we were. I'm blown away. How do people find out more information about you guys?
So you just go to xtify.com, and let me make clear for any developers out there, Xtify is a free resource. The way that we make money is that we deliver our product with an SLA to large enterprises that have a consumer-facing presence. But for the world of developers out there, play with this tool. Figure out what location means in the context of your users. Do it responsibly, but do it because the next guy is already thinking about how to do it, and I think that your peer is probably using or about to implement Xtify.
I love it. Josh, you know what? I'm going to have you back onto the show. Longer form at untether.tv. If you're interested in it, you can go and check it out at untether.tv. I did a long form interview back when, a long time ago. It was over a year ago, probably.
Oh,
so we're due for this. I really appreciate you coming on to This Week in Location-Based Marketing to get a snapshot. First demo ever. Now that we've set this bar very high, thank you for doing this.
Congratulations on your growth, and we will see you in Toronto in June. I don't know if you've told your users about that, but
I've been bragging about it. I have. Yes,
okay,
yes,
cool.
yes. Josh, thank you so much. We've been speaking with Josh Rochlin from Xtify. Go to xtify.com. Xtify. If you already haven't, you should check them out. Now, back to the show. Thanks, Josh.
Take care.
That is Josh Rochlin. Now, I have an extended interview that I did with Josh way back, probably about over a year, but it's still available on untether.tv. Just do a search for Xtify, Xtify, and of course you can visit Xtify at xtify.com. Josh, thank you so much for coming on. I'm really glad we could finally schedule that interview. It was worth it. It was worth it. All right, we just got to wrap up with our funding M&A activity and our resource of the week, and we will set you on your way to go out and innovate this week in location-based marketing, whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're inside a business or running a business. This is the stuff you need to know. And this is always the exciting part when we talk about stuff that, people making real money, either investments or exits. We'll start with, how about an exit? A company called Maptuit being acquired by Telogis. I know I hit it once there. Somebody just name your company like Green. Somebody, so I can pronounce it, please. But all right, what's the significance of this, Asif?
Well, I mean, this is two companies that have been in the market for a long time. This is on the B2B side of location and data and tracking. And so Maptuit is actually a Toronto-based company that provides data around managing and tracking commercial trucking fleets. and so these guys have fantastic software and navigational capabilities that, you know, I think 5 of the biggest truck fleets in North America use their software, from what I was reading. So again, this is a company that's been around for a long time. And then Telogis, you know, is a company that is in the same space, but has been acquiring a lot of companies lately. And really, what we're looking at here is just sort of that mashup between sort of the navigational tracking capabilities of Maptuit with sort of fleet management, route optimization, you know, work orders, and all the other stuff that Telogis has on their platform. So, you know, we don't need to go into too much detail there, but I think it's nice to see when you know, there can be complementary companies come together in an industry like this and find common ground, you know, where they can merge and continue to provide great services.
I don't know this industry very well, but I do know that mobile certainly is in the middle of, or poised to, disrupt this. And certainly it used to be very expensive for companies to get into this space or to bring this technology into their business. But now, come on, everybody's carrying these phones. It's a simple solution now, simpler solution now. And now we start to get into what I love is the telematics side of this. You know,
right.
where you know what's in the trucks, you know what's being transported, you know where they are, you know the pressure of the tires, you know the service history of the car, all from just basically a dashboard through a location base and a wireless device. I love that stuff. Mm-hmm. It's like the human body, but for trucks, right? Human telematics.
Yeah.
Okay, so Telogis, is that how you say it?
I'm going with Telogis.
Okay, Telogis acquires Maptuit. Maptuit was easy. Right.
Yeah, and I didn't see any numbers on that.
I didn't either, but fleet management, man, is big. You think about couriers, you think about fleet management, you think about fleet management when it comes to retail or rental cars. Oh, God. I love that. Like, here's just a tangent. Why hasn't anybody invented? Maybe they have. If you have out there, let us know. It's happened a couple of times on the show. They say, why haven't they invented something? And somebody sends me an email and says, well, Rob, there's 3,700 companies that do that out there. So I'm not pretending to be smart here, but if I was a budget or you know, an enterprise rent-a-car, something like that, I would actually have location-based access points or waypoints in the car, so that I knew exactly where that car was, not only where the car was, but also the estimated time of arrival, so that I could make sure that nobody's waiting for cars. You know what I mean? Like something like that would be a killer application for rental cars, so that it creates an efficiency so users aren't waiting or renters aren't waiting. Anyway, something's out there.
Sort of like taking the Uber app and applying it to rental cars.
Why not? Why not? You know, like even if you think about the Uber cars, you know, Uber cabs.
Well, like you can, on the consumer side, you can see how far the car is, you know, when it's expected to arrive to your destination, right? So
why not do this? Like, you would have this application that I wanted to rent a car, and so I booked a car, and I'm in downtown, you know, Midtown Manhattan, and somebody who is driving towards the airport or is returning the car, but is beyond that point, that waypoint. Wouldn't it be cool if you could just say, look, I'm standing on this corner. That person who is trying to return that car, I'll take it. Right?
Right.
I know there's a whole bunch of stuff that's involved in that, but we got to start thinking like that. Anyway, Telogis acquires Maptuit. I don't know how we got there, but anyways. Second story. Well, this is the first funding that we're going to highlight. Sojern closes $7.5 million. Sojern. I like that. It wasn't that like a satellite?
It was something. No, that's Sputnik. No, anyways.
Yes, it was.
Maybe there was a Sojern. I don't know. Yeah, so this is a company that is in the airline travel business, you know, deal service, but specific to the travel industry. And yeah, $7.5 million, money coming from Industry Ventures, Norwest Venture Partners, Trident Capital, and Focus Ventures. So a consortium play here. And so these guys have, as I said, they're in the travel business. They have a sort of airline boarding pass service. They have a media ad network platform. They can push targeted offers across anything that they do, including the boarding pass piece, which is kind of interesting. They have a lot of big name clients, so American Airlines, Alaska Airlines, United, U.S. Air, Delta. So I mean, these guys are well known in the travel industry, and yeah, I think this is just fuel to continue to innovate, add some feature set to their current mobile offerings, and yeah. We'll see where that goes.
So basically, this is a travel ad network, a targeted travel ad network. Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've raised over like $32.5 million by now. So it's this is more fuel to that fire. 7.5 will help for sure. Wow. Sojern, spelled Sojern. Go to the sojern.com if you want some more information, if you're interested in that stuff.
Yeah. The Brad King, who's one of their VPs. Says that the money is going to be used for rebranding and to focus the company, who's currently primarily a company publishing boarding passes, to a firm focused on travel data and audience targeting.
That's important. That is, and these guys, maybe they get into a good relationship with like the duty-free shops. So they leverage their ad network with the duty-free shops located in each airport. Like I like that data. At least they're being honest about it. Data is the reason. Data is the money. It's king. So inference is so important. Sojern raises $7.5 million. Very cool. Last funding news. This company called Appstack. Appstack raising $1.5 million from, among other people, Gary Vaynerchuk and Google.
Yeah, I mean, this is, we don't have to spend too much time on it, but I mean, Appstack is they host mobile websites. They have sort of a mobile advertising network play. It's a small amount of money, 1.5 million, as you said. Gary Vaynerchuk, Don Dodge, and Matt Douglas from Punchbowl are in on this as well. So, some influential people. I don't know if any of them are also on the board of the company or not, but yeah, I mean, this is basically, mobile delivery and optimization of Google AdWords, in a sort of monthly small business model. And they, apparently they are the, one of the largest resellers for Google out there anyway. So it makes sense that Google, would want to participate in this.
Well, it's I like this, and this is a play. I mean, obviously, this is an acquisition target for Google once they've looked at this a little bit deeper, and even 500 startups is in there, and Google Ventures, obviously, as you said, and Eric Schmidt. So there's a lot of influence from either Googlers or ex-Googlers, and a little bit of influence from a guy like Gary Vaynerchuk, I think, pushed this out there. So Appstack,
and they're actually making money.
What? Yeah, we don't talk about those guys on this show.
They're apparently. I was kind of reading here, and they were saying that they're on target to generate $1 million per month in revenue at the moment.
Wow, so. And the margins have got to be pretty good as well. So you like that? Yep. $1.5 million. That's their first investment, $1.5 million, and it's obviously been with a targeted income, a TI of $12 million. That's pretty good. The interesting thing is I interviewed Duda Mobile on Tether.tv, and they are slight competitors. And if you're interested in that, I'll try to get Appstack on the show as well. But if you're interested, take a look at Duda. Just do a search for DUDA Mobile on Tether. And if you're interested in Appstack, just go to goappstack.com is their website, goappstack.com. They raised 1.5. Very cool. I love to see guys like Vaynerchuk involved, putting their money into these companies. But big investors in this. Small amount of money, big investors.
Yeah.
That's it.
There you go.
Yeah. Telogis inquiring Maptuit, Sojern raising their money, $7.5 million, and Appstack closing $1.5 million. Now, let's finish off with our resource of the week. Asif, the Relevance Resolution.
Yeah, I think this is. I love the name because I think so much of the conversation on this show and around the industry has been centered on deals and offers and location-based coupons and and I think we've said over and over again that this is only going to be effective if it's relevant and valuable to the consumer. Otherwise, it's just noise. And so this resource that we're going to put up, and it's available on the LBMA site. So I'll send you the link to post. But the it's put out by Colloquy, which is part of Loyalty One, which is a loyalty program company. And maybe that's the best way to put this is that any of these programs, in order for them to be effective, has to be about how do we sustain, drive, and grow loyalty if we're going to do these things. It can't just be turn on the tap, one-time traffic, and it's over. We have to build continuous dialogue and conversation with the consumer from a retailer's or merchant's perspective. And so I think that's why it's a great paper, because it talks about the importance of relevance, the importance of loyalty, and that continuous conversation.
Well, what they draw attention to is the fact that loyalty is in decline over the last couple of years, like steep decline. Right. And so it's very important that we focus on this, and everybody's pushing out loyalty cards. And I think that, we've talked about this very often on the show, is that there's too much choice. There's an abundance of loyalty initiatives to each consumer, and we're only going to choose the ones that are relevant to us, or we're going to shut them all out. And that's why this is really interesting. I love the relevance resolution. It's something that's so important. So go check it out. You can go to the link. You can also go to I guess it'll be up at the LBMA under the research, the lbma.com/research, or you'll find it at their website, COLLOQUY.com, and we'll obviously have a link up there in the show notes. So go and check it out. You can always check out the show notes at untethered.tv. That's it. Nailed.
That's it. We're done.
You know what? I'm really impressed. This is the first time that I've done something, from San Francisco, between Ottawa and San Francisco, where we are two very, very, very technically centered cities, Ottawa and San Francisco. And this is the first time that the connection has lasted throughout an entire episode. I'm so impressed. Whatever we've done right. Maybe we should just do this. Nope.
We're doing it on the weekend. That's what it is. It's during the week. Bandwidth out here is terrible. It's just I don't know. It's taxed. But the one last thing I want to say is one of the absolute joys of being out here is just being in the center of it all and connecting with great people. And yesterday I had the good fortune to sit down for lunch with Jennifer Stack, who runs marketing. And Damien Patton, CEO of Banjo. And this is an app that I love. And if you haven't checked it out yet, please check it out. Also, the newest member of the LBMA. So, welcome to them from me. We're glad to have them on board. But, and I know you've done an interview with Damien as well. So, people should take a look at that when they can.
Hands down, one of my favorite interviews. Damien's story. He's a two-time Gulf War vet. He used to be a chief mechanic for NASCAR. He started Banjo. The story is incredible. It's in 3 parts up on Untether. I had a blast doing that, and I actually spoke to him. I think we mentioned this because we included a clip of that interview in one of the episodes that we've done. But I sat with him on the day that Banjo, their newest version, was released, and Apple put it up as a featured product, and people were banging on his window. Anyways, it was all great things come to great people, and I believe in Damien and his team. So that's great. I'm so happy that you got to meet. That's the best part about being down in San Francisco.
Definitely a company to watch. A bunch of new things I can't talk about yet that are going to be coming out in the next month and a half from them. So stay tuned and check out Banjo. It's ban.jo.
Yeah, and I threw it up on the screen there. I'll throw it up right now as well as we finish off the show. ban.jo. Hello, everybody at Banjo. I love doing it, as hopefully you enjoyed being a part of it. That's it. So you got a bonus one there in Banjo. So you are heading off to where this coming week, and we'll get a full wrap of that when you're back in the city, back in Toronto at the end of the week. So we'll be back to our regular scheduled filming. We'll be back on the 8th. It is Easter. Yes, it's a good long weekend.
Yes.
But other than that, you guys out there, really appreciate you spending some time. As I said at the beginning, subscribe to iTunes. It's the best way that you get these, the fastest way to get the episodes. You'll be in the know well ahead of your competitors. You'll get these, get this insight well ahead of your competitors. If you have any feedback, please reach out. If you love the show, let us know, but also give us a rating on iTunes. We'd really appreciate it, and give us some praise in the comments on iTunes. It really helps us. It helps push this thing out. We'll be back next week for episode number 72. Anything else, Asif?
No, that's it. Thanks to everyone for listening again and watching if you're on the video side. And just keep the comments coming, keep the encouragement coming. We love doing this. And that's it for now. We'll see you next week on This Week in Location-Based Marketing.
Asif, enjoy your week in San Francisco.
Thanks.